Hey everybody, let's get started. I hope you're all having a good Tuesday so far. Been another rainy day here, but it looks like it's finally clearing up, so that's nice. Alright, okay, so today I'm mostly going to be working some more on the sign document probably, but I hope to maybe start some of the programming. But first, they put out the third round of Ludum Dare, so might as well vote on it real quick. Okay, so round 3. Island. I actually like that one because there's a few ways you can interpret it and it doesn't really restrict things too much. A world in the skies. Well, I personally like this theme, but I think it's not the best. Consequences. No, that one's not too bad actually. And then magnetism is like World in the Skies to me. Strange World. Death is only the beginning. It seems like we have ones like that pretty often. Unconventional movement. Hive mind. Not feeling that one. Expansion. Limited button presses, no. It's another like black and white thing. Playing with fire. Not feeling it. Keep it alive. Oh no, that's gonna be like all... I think that restricts the mechanics too much. Illusions and okay, those two aren't too bad. I'm gonna go ahead and plus this one up because I like that theme for some reason. Alright. Well, that's that. Now let's get to the game. So yesterday we started a bit on the programming, but it was mostly just some of these data structures. Let's see, so the monster. Right, it had a list of abilities, a list of status name or statistic names, and the monster prototypes. Okay, and so we did a little more here. We did the let's see. Oh yeah, we did the action, so we can go ahead and create this class. Or I don't know if this would actually be in the player data. This would be because it's just like returned from the ability. So let's see. It would probably just be in the play scene only, to be honest. So action. And then we'll also have an enumeration for the action type. Again, start with none, and then let's see, which ones did we think of? So we have the move, affect statistic, affect the bench, and affect an ability. so here, private action type. And one thing that we could do for this class, I don't know, it might be a little overkill, but we could have like several subclasses of this, or even like an interface. So we'd have like a separate object definition for each of these types. But in general, they all have the executing monster and the target monster. Move has a position, the others each have either a statistic, a bench status, an ability. So I think we won't start implementing this too much because we don't know exactly how we're going to do it in the code. Alright, so let's see, what else do we need to do here? Well, obviously we need to type up all these things. So player let's see. Player controls. Let's see, should we, because there's basically 3 different ways that a monster could be controlled, either by the local player input, which is the actual person playing the game, or the AI for like single player, or when we're testing, and the third way would be over the network. So I'm not sure if we should use a different word. How do we? It's controllable by the player. Well, okay, so I guess yeah, player controls monsters. There are several types. As like I said before, the local player, and then a player over the network, and an AI player. Well, I guess don't put in quotes because it's actually going to be a player. So if we need to refer to the specific local player, we can just call it the local player. Okay. Probably go back to that later when we try to figure out the flow of a specific turn. Alright, so the field is a collection of movable spaces on which monsters can move around, or monsters can be positioned. The field is defined by the map, which is defined by a content mod. And so how this would work, so I've been trying to think, do I want to support, well actually do we want to have like only square based tiles or hexagon based tiles, or do we want to support all kinds of strange base tiles that the mod creators could come up with? And I think at least supporting square and hexagon might be worth it, because hexagon movement adds a lot to it. I think adds a lot to the strategy of these type of games. So yeah, attributes. So a collection of spaces. And yeah, that's another thing we need to add here. And then a map of movable paths between spaces. So yeah, this would be defined by the map. And this is also defined by the map. But these things could be modifiable during the gameplay, so that's another thing to think about. Yeah, so we'll leave that out. Well, no. We should keep that in. And modifiable by abilities. Oops, I spelled that wrong, didn't I? Same thing down here. Okay, so attributes. Okay, well actually, technically they're not modifiable by abilities, they're modifiable by actions. Okay, so this is another action type we should add. Okay, so let's see, affect a space and affect so what should we call the oh, where's the field? Right here. So map of movable paths between spaces. I guess we could just call this a path, or yeah, move path. That makes most sense. Okay, so we can add that here. So yeah, basically we'll wait and see what everything we need here since we're still thinking about it. Yeah, but basically I want abilities to be able to change the attributes of a space and the attributes of a move path. I guess for move path you just add or remove one, but okay, so anything else here? Also, yeah, it needs to have okay, well I guess we can put this here even though we might actually not store this information in the field object, but it would be the positions of all monsters. So yeah, I think that's about all we'll need here. So now we'll hop over to space, and then space is okay. Well, I was gonna say it's an occupiable position, but some spaces might not be. Okay, so space is a discrete position yeah, okay, in the field attributes. Okay, so what do we want here? I can think of several things. For example, maybe spaces should also have statistics, probably. So let's see, statistic. Okay, well that's interesting. So if we're going to go that route with spaces, then maybe we need to also have a space prototype and things can be changed. Let's actually, let's move this map up. So we got the field, the map, space, prototype. Because one thing I'm trying to think of is a lot of games have spaces, or like space types, so they'd have, I don't know, grassland, swamp, or whatever. And then if you tried to move through a swamp, it would affect your move speed differently. So since we're going to have this game be moddable, we need to basically make all that kind of information generic. So yeah, the space needs to have a bunch of statistics, and then if we're going to do that, then the statistics should be changeable. Yeah, so that's why we need a separate prototype, probably. So map is a configuration of spaces and move paths, which define the starting state of the field. So maps are contained within content mods. Okay, so I already know this is a collection of spaces, collection, move paths, and then probably also should have like available starting positions for monsters. See, that's one thing. For monsters. So I guess we'll get to that when we get into the game flow. To figure out, I guess there'll be one phase at the beginning where you choose where you want the monsters to be placed and before you actually start moving around. Okay, so let's see. So now the space prototype. Space prototype defines. Okay, let's use the same language as I did here. Yeah, that looks good. Oh, I spelled that all wrong. Okay. So attributes, kind of like the monster prototype. Let's, I guess we'll keep brainstorming up. Yeah, so space prototype would have a name, and then list of the statistic values. Now I wonder, should there be separate space statistics and monster statistics? I guess it doesn't really matter that much, because they're just a name and value pair. maybe we'd store them separately in the actual game code. But I don't even know if there's a reason to do that. Besides it just kind of making sense, because I don't know if monsters and spaces would have much in common. But I think for the case of the game design document, just to keep things simpler, we'll just use the same. Oops, I didn't do this right. Monster prototype and space prototype. While monsters and spaces have specific values for each statistic. It's a list of possible statistic values. I don't even know if we need to do that. Well, I guess there should clearly be a prototype, but I think the space prototype will actually have hard statistic values, and then so the only difference between a space prototype and the space would happen during gameplay, not during like the team building phase or anything. Alright, so the space has a space prototype. I don't think we need to have a separate name for a specific space, although I guess maybe, I don't know, I can't think of a reason why you'd want. And then also, so I guess it would have a position in the field. Actually, it'd have a position in world space. Which is just for like the graphics rendering. Maybe. Yeah, that's, I guess it depends how we render the spaces. Maybe we leave that up to the mod. Yeah, I haven't even thought about that technical stuff yet, because the easiest way, of course, would be to have just like a sprite tile map, but I don't know if we want this game to be sprite based. I was kind of envisioning it not. So in that case, it would be on a terrain mesh, and so we'd have to allow mods to kind of control the mesh a bit. Yeah, we'll have to look into that when we get to that point. So yeah, I'll just leave. Yeah, so I'll just be vague here. Position information. But what it will definitely have is like an anchor position for monsters to move to. Okay, and then it would have the actual, or yes, statistic values for the space. Okay, so yeah, basically we just saw a reason why the game design document is useful, because otherwise I hadn't even thought about space prototypes and things, so we might have had to change a lot of code to implement these ideas if I hadn't thought of it first. So that's why it's useful to try and write out your design, I think. Yeah, so let's move on to the move path. The move path is really simple. It just defines an available route that monsters can take to move from one space to another. Yeah, so the reason that we do this is because since we're going to support both square and hexagon maps, we can't necessarily know exactly what spaces are next to it. And also, like, take for example, if even with a square map, if you wanted to have two squares have like a mountain range between them that you couldn't move between, we'd want to somehow be able to model that. So yeah, that's what this move path handles. So I guess the space, this also has, oh well, no, the field is what holds the move paths between the spaces. Right, start space, and then the finish space. And I guess there might be a reason why you might not be able to move backwards, so yeah, I think it's good if we define the start and finish, so that's fine. Okay, so yeah, we took care of the map now. Okay, so the team. So a team is a collection of monsters. Actually, yeah, let's say this. So the attributes of a player is the type, and then and we're going to keep this separate from like the idea of a save file. So this player exists only for one battle. Monsters during one battle. I'm gonna even write myself a note. This concept is separate from the idea of save file, campaign player, even like, so it basically has no attributes that carry over between battles. We'll have some other data structure with that. So attribute has the type, and then an active team. That's basically all. There's a player has chosen to do a battle with. Yeah, that's basically everything that a team has to do with. And so bench is a place where, well, it's not even a physical place really, it's just a concept, because the monster just has this bench status flag. It's a concept where monsters can retreat from battle, or retreat from the field for a time while benched. The monster is invulnerable, but may still be able to use abilities. Well, I guess the monster is not technically invulnerable because the mod could hurt a monster on the bench, although that'd be kind of weird. Monster. So really, the only thing is the monster is not present on the field. Or be targeted by abilities. I guess this is more correct. Alright, so what else do we have? So life is a concept which so I'm trying to be generic here because obviously in traditional games we would just say it just means the monster can't battle, except which controls some aspects of a monster. So really the only thing is that if all monsters are not alive, then you lose. So that's basically all we can say here. If all monsters on a team have no life, then that player loses the battle. Okay, so now we got most of the basic concepts and objects that will be happening on the game. So now we want to move to the turn flow. And I think after we figure this out, we can maybe start trying to implement a very simple prototype for this. So anyway, battle is one match. In this game, it takes place on the field between... Okay, now here's a good question. Should we only support 2 players, or should we support more? That will... because that question really significantly affects how we'll need to write the server code. So if we support more than 2 players, well, I guess the thing is that if we support more than 2 players, we also will support 2 players. So I don't think it will be that much harder. between at least 2 players. Okay, so yeah, that's one thing we'll need to keep in mind. Framework mod. Yeah, so okay, so I think I decided to put the attributes that a framework mod defines in the actual objects, or more specific files. So, well, actually the number of players would be defined in the lobby, so I guess I don't need to put that information here in the battle. So, battle consists of many turns. The battle concludes so I guess we won't actually say how the battle concludes because that depends on a bunch of different things. And that player. So let's see. The battle concludes when all but one player have lost, or yeah, that's how it is. If all players lose, then the battle is deemed a tie. Okay, yeah, so this all seems pretty self-explanatory, but that's the kind of things you need to write out. So we know one way the players can lose is from all their monsters running out of life. Another way, I guess, would be if they forfeit. So let's put that in the game design. Should we? Okay, yeah, so I guess forfeiting would be an action. Forfeit the battle. Yeah, I think forfeit deserves its own page. Forfeit is a specific. Okay. Well, I guess it could actually be triggered in a few different ways. So I don't want to use the term action because we already have that. Because yeah, technically a player, because a player can forfeit from an action, but then they'd also forfeit if like some timer ran out or they stay disconnected for too long. Okay, so I'll just use forfeit is a occurrence that causes a player to lose the battle. When forfeiting, all monsters on the player's team automatically become benched. So basically they leave the battlefield. Okay. So here's a question. Should players be able to move all their monsters during their turn or just one monster? And then how is the turn order decided? So if we really want to be like Pokemon, all players would choose their actions at once. Yeah, I think that might be how we do it. Because that does encourage mind games, which is one of the main tenets of Pokemon battles. So let's say, did I okay, so let's see. Ability describes a list of actions that take during a turn. Okay. So yeah, not only can one monster execute one and only ability, one player can only execute one and only ability. Okay, so a turn is a discrete time during which each player chooses which actions to execute either through monster ability or otherwise. So, okay, the timeline choice. Each player okay, so let's do this. Okay, so execution. Okay, so we need some way for the mods to choose the turn order execution. Let's see, so yeah. So ordering. Yeah, this would have to be defined by the framework mod. The framework mod provides a function which decides the ordering or the order that each player's actions will be executed in. Each player's action is executed actions are executed in the order given by the framework. Okay, so one thing here is remember that each player can execute several actions in a turn, even though they can only do one ability. I guess should the framework mod be allowed to mix and match which actions take place when, or should no, I think it's important that the ability actions all stay together, so says which order. Okay, yeah. Each player's choices will be executed in. The individual actions are executed in the order given during are given at the end of the choice phase. So I hope that makes sense. Let's call okay, I think this makes it a bit more clear. Yeah, so each player's lists are executed in the order given by the framework. Actions in the list are executed in the order given in the list. Okay, there we go. So afterwards, we'll have end of turn actions. So basically what this would be, so actually how do I want to implement this? So what I'm thinking is, for example, I want to have certain actions like how I was talking before. If a monster had the poison statistic, then there would be some end of turn action that would damage their health statistic. And another thing I want to do is if a player is standing on a fire space, then they would also need to take damage. So where will these functions be defined? So will statistics themselves need to have some kind of script attached? Okay, so I guess technically the framework mod could have the script, but then content mods couldn't add their own. Okay, well I guess the framework mod and a content mod can each add their own end of turn actions. And then the game will just execute them all and check if any need to be taken into effect, or check if any actions need to be taken. Okay, so yeah. The framework as well as content mod can provide. Okay, we probably should just have an end of turn effect, or actually end of turn action. Well, no, we'll call it effect because it's not an action. Okay, so an end of turn effect is a Lua function given by either framework mod or a content mod, which is run during the end of turn effect phase in a turn. Okay, that's a bit of a mouthful, but they can specify any number of actions to execute. Okay, so one thing that we need to do here is maybe there should be a priority which specifies the order that the end of turn effects are called. Probably framework mod. Well, they might actually want to run at the end, so yeah, let's see. End of turn effects have a priority attached, and the game will sort them and call the functions based on this priority. And then just to specify lower numbers run first. Okay. So now back to the turn. Okay, so call each end of turn effect and execute actions as they are given. Okay, and then let's see. At the very end, we'll need to check if a monster is still alive. So let's say this will be the life phase. Call the framework function to check if each, or let's say to update each monster's life status. And then the last phase is the loss phase. Which would be signal if any player has lost, and then the win phase if, say, check if the battle should end. Okay, so now we kind of got the flow of a turn. Okay, I'm just kind of skimming to see. So first you choose which actions, which most of the time the player would choose a monster and then what ability they want to execute. And then the framework mod orders the player choices. Then we execute each of those actions, and then we check end of turn. Check if any monsters have died. We check if any player has lost, and then finally, if there's only 1 or 0 players still with that have not lost, then the battle should end. Okay. So yeah, another attribute that the player would have would be battle status, which is win, loss, or let's see, win, loss, and I don't know if that's the right word for that, but basically hasn't won or lost yet. Okay, so this flow is kind of like the overarching phases that the actual battle will go through. Maybe I should change it to battle flow. Right. The battle flow determines. So I keep wanting to, I want to say the battle flow determines the flow of a battle, which doesn't make much sense. Determines the timeline of a match. I guess I can actually say battle here because it's we have a word that describes that. Okay, so we'll do the same thing here. First, loading. This should actually be taken care of. Well, I guess we'll still need to load the graphics and things, because we'll have some separate scene that will load the mods, make sure everything is valid, connect to the players. Basically, we'll do the same thing we did in the chess game, because we'll have a separate lobby. But, so I guess instead of loading, we'll call this initialize. Create graphics, etc. And build the field, place, monsters. And so we'll like spaces as part of the field. Okay, so now basically it's the turns. Turns take place. It's gonna be pretty simple. Well, maybe we'll have an intro. A short, I don't know, cinematic introducing the battle. We won't get too in depth in that at this point. Okay, so and then end. The battle has ended with one player winning or a tie. Exit, this will be once each player exits. We'll take care of that later because technically a player could exit at any point. Okay, so now, yeah, the most important part definitely was deciding this, because now we because I feel like now we can start programming. Of course, there's a lot more to do in the design document, but since I'm streaming this, I don't want to just sit here and write the whole time, so I think we'll do this last hour, we'll do some programming. I think I have enough to get started. Alright. Okay, so we have an action class. We'll definitely need a field. Okay, and so we will need also, okay, well, the space data would be definitely here because it's decided or generated by the game or the loading phase. So let's add that. And then finally we'll also need space prototype. So this isn't really the player data. So we really should add another thing here, because well, I guess this won't matter so much now, but when is the map generated? Because we also have this, we have loading where the mod is loaded and everything. And I guess it's kind of important. Well, I wonder, like, should the player build the team before they know the specific map? Yeah, I wonder. Okay, so well, actually the map, I can see both ways. If we let the player build the team before the map loads, I mean, obviously they'd have knowledge of how the map looks. And I don't know if we'll do Fog of War. I don't think so. Although I guess the mod could technically implement that. But well, I guess regardless, this player data exists in all three phases. Okay, so yeah, this is fine. And this has a name and a private double, or a list of doubles for statistics. Let's say stats. And then the actual space also has its prototype and oops, supposed to be private, not public. And then it also has a list. Since so many things have this list for statistics, Maybe we should just have our own like statistic value class. I'm trying to think. How do we do it in the game data? So yeah, we just have a string of stat names. Something else we'd have here. Private list space. Oops. Oh, I guess I didn't set this. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter. Because even if there's 100 stats, well, that'd be a lot of junk, actually, because there might be upwards of a few hundred spaces, and if there's 100 different stats, but most of them aren't used, that's going to be a lot of memory not needed. I just don't really want to use a dictionary because they're kind of slow, and if you have to go through every value, maybe that's a good enough reason to have separate space stats and monster stats. Okay, so this will be monster stat names, and then we'll have a separate space stat name. Okay. And then we'll have a map. I don't know. Keep with this nomenclature. Maybe I should call it the field prototype. I think I'll do that actually. I'm not sure if it's really needed because it's not like the game data will have to have a list of field prototypes. There'll always only be one per game. How do I want to do this? Let's okay, so the field would have a list of spaces. Well, I guess really if there's any chance that we might want the map to be visible during team building, then the field really should be available in here. So I think I'll go ahead and move it. In fact, I think I should really just change this to just data, I think. Oh wow. Okay, there we go. Huh. was a weird error. Okay, it doesn't won't let me rename the namespace. Well, there's not too many objects in it yet, so. Monster. Okay, that's all. Oh, monster prototype. There we go. Okay, so let's change this here. Right, so this also has things like field, space, prototype, that kind of stuff. Okay. So the first thing, really, what we need to do is somehow just generate a default field. Yeah, so that's kind of the order I'm going to do first. I'm going to try to generate a default field, get some models up here, and then we can try and generate a monster, just place it, and then we'll need to just hard code in one action they can take to move, and then we'll try and get the input to move between spaces, and then we can get more and more complicated as we go. Right, so let's see. Now normally the field would already be generated by the time the play controller starts. So we need to add so I'm gonna add like a new debug namespace here, because in the final game this won't be used. So this will be, I don't know, default field generator. Alright, let's call it testing field generator. And I'll copy this. Okay. So public testing field generator, and it will get the play controller. So what we need to do is we basically need to create this field object and then insert it into the components. Speaking of that, okay, yeah, so remember how we had the component keys before? We're going to do the same type of thing, except I'm going to try and separate out those enumerations, one per scene. So we'll have a separate one for play, a separate one for loading, and then we'll have a separate one for global. So this will be global components. So I always just start with none, and then we also we'll need the game data for sure, and the field. So we'll also need something to, I guess, generate a testing game data. For now, maybe we should do that first, I wonder. Let's just insert an empty field just for proof of concept. And then controller, components, register, global comps, field, and then we register right there. There we go. Okay, so play controller. I need some way to know if it needs to create those empty objects or not. I guess it can check to see if there's no field, then it would create this testing field generator. Okay. Contains and global comps. This testing field generator doesn't even need to be a class. Well, I mean, it needs to be a class, but it can just be a static class. So generate. What's it complaining about? Oh yeah, we need to put in the global components. Oh, I have to put static right here. Okay, and then one thing I should do here is this basically means that this code will only run if we're in debug mode. So for instance, we don't have to worry about commenting out this code if for the release version of the game. So we got debug, testing field generator, generate, and we'll pass it ourselves. Okay. Of course, that doesn't really do much. Alright, then we also need the move path object. There's a couple ways we could represent this as this class, or we could try to just create, I don't know, this is probably the best way. Well, the problem with this really is how we really should do it is for each space it should have like a list of outgoing spaces it can move to, because having this separate move path class is going to be very inefficient, because we basically have to search through the list of move paths anytime we'd want to see where we can move from one tile. And in this game we're going to need to implement probably like some what's the word? Some path finding. So we'll need to find that information out quickly. So yeah, I can already tell this isn't a good idea. Instead, we'll have a list and two outgoing paths. Yeah, so the field right now will basically just be a list of spaces. Okay, so Not sure for these data classes. I'm not sure if we should worry about placing them behind these get and set things if we're going, because basically they're always going to be this simple. The data classes aren't meant to have actual logic in them. I know I've been making them private, but I think I might change all of them to be public. Usually that's okay for just plain data classes. Alright, and then let's just add, let's add one new space. Well, actually, space equals new space. I'll add that here. Alright, and space. Oh, yeah, everything's private. Alright, so space prototype 0. Space statistics. And then outgoing paths, they'll also have none. Okay, so now what I'll do here, just to test to make sure this works. So Unity engine, debug, game. Oh, I need to call the log function. Alright, so game components, get global comps, field, oh. Spaces count, and so it should print out a 1. Okay, so the component did not register. I already knew it wasn't registered, but let's see. On play controller 19. Okay, so this should have run and then it should have added it. Oh, or did I do it backwards? Yeah, okay, so it should be if not contains. Alright, so now it said 1. Okay. So very simple, but we got that done. Alright, so now let's do a little work in Unity, and we'll want to spawn a model for this class. I'm just going to do something really simple. So we want another folder in here for prefabs. Oh, we don't want it in the script folder, actually. Okay, so we have this cube already. So I'm gonna scale it down. Oops, I want the X to be full. Let's make it thin. And then I want to try and have it, I want the top to be at 0. So since this is 0.1 and the cube is 1 by 1, then I think if we say 0.05, that should be fine. And now we'll create Yeah, we can see 0, 0 is right on top. So this will be space, or actually we'll call it testing tile. And put the cube underneath it. And just drag this into the prefab folder. Alright, so now that's all good. Very fancy, I know. Okay, so now we need a class to spawn that object up. Okay, so I'll just, I was trying to decide how I want to do it. Folder, so this will also be in the play. Okay. Okay, because this is like kind of what I was saying before. Should the game be a bunch of tiles, or should the game be one big mesh provided by the game, or provided by the mod? Well, probably the final game, I'm almost positive, will be a mesh that the mod provides, but for now we'll just go ahead and load one prefab for each tile while we're testing. So this is okay, so how do I want to call this? Prefab per space loader. Okay, so this is going to be pretty simple. Just once the game, well, on its start, it'll just load a prefab per space, basically. Oh, I know why. I was expecting it to generate the start function for me, but it's because it doesn't inherit from mono behavior. That didn't come up. Okay, so okay, so I haven't created that function yet. Let's go. Oh, I did actually. Oh, but I made it private. Okay, so we need to get the field now. Oops. Equals game components, get field, and it's int global components dot field. Okay. And then for each our space in field spaces. Okay, so we know the spaces do have like a center position. So public vector 3 center. And then, so we'll just generate the prefab to be right on that field, or that center anchor. So vector 3 position equals space center world position. And then, Okay, so we need to get a reference to the prefab. So tile, or let's just say, so game object instantiate. So we give it the prefab and the position, which is this P. It's gonna ask for a code rotation, so we just tell it no rotation, which is what, oops, if it actually come up, that's what that identity means. And then the parent will be this transform. That's all we have to do. And then if I create a game object with that component, so this will be test space models. Okay, space. There we go. And then got that prefab. If you delete that, and then if I press play, okay, something. Game link cannot load in unknown mode. I thought I made sure this went first. Yeah, the awake should go before start. Oh. Yeah, I forgot to set loaded to true here, that's the problem. Okay, yeah, there we go. This camera is not the best position to view the board right now. Oops. Okay, well, I guess I should move it up first, and then rotate it down. Alright, there we go. And then, oops. I want to copy the values of this transform, so that way when we exit, I can just paste it in. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and do this. I just remembered this. One good thing, basically to do in every project that the camera could possibly move, is you should have an anchor for the camera. Oops, I didn't want to parent under that. Because that way the camera will... And then what you should do also is don't rotate the actual camera. Instead, you should rotate the anchor. Something like that. See, it made things. Just doing that, it was easier because I didn't have to worry about moving the camera up. Okay. So now we got an object out. So let's try and spawn a few more. Okay, one thing I know I want to do already is I should make the cube slightly smaller than 1 for each size, so that we can see the spaces between them. So let's go ahead and do that while I remember. Okay. Alright, so that's all well and good, but so let's just make a 3x3 grid for now. Equals 0. x less than 3, x plus plus, and then for int y equals 0, y less than 3. There we go. Okay, so space equals new. That's a better way to do this actually. So the prototype will just be 0 for now. Outgoing. We actually will need to set this later, but not this moment. Stats. Okay, this is what we care about. The center world position equals new. Vector 2. So yeah, it's basically x minus 1, y minus 1, and 0. And then field spaces, add space. Oh, what did I do here? I forgot the parenthesis. Okay. No, something's still not right. Namespace does not exist. Oh, okay, it doesn't have the parenthesis. I just there's an extra semicolon. Okay. Okay, so now, oh, okay. Now one kind of annoying thing about Unity, well at least, I guess it's not really annoying, you just have to get used to it. To me, it seems like Z should point straight up, but in Unity, Y points straight up. So I have to always remember that. Hey Storm, how are you? I'm doing pretty good. So actually our Y would be the third coordinate. Okay, so that's more like it. Alright, cool, cool. Good to hear. Okay, so now what should I do? Oh, sorry you weren't here last weekend. That's okay, Storm. I only streamed Monday. So you didn't miss any more than one day. Okay, so, trying to decide what to do next. It's gonna be, what's the game I'm working on? It's, imagine Pokemon, but then taking place on a chessboard. That's kind of the gist of it. And not so much the Pokemon as like going around collecting monsters, but more like the battle system tries to incorporate team building and mind games and things like that. Oh, you don't know Pokemon? Well, it's mainly just there's a bunch of, I don't know, characters you can choose from with a lot of different abilities and statistics and strengths and weaknesses, and then you try to create a good team out of all the characters you can choose from, and then you basically pit it up against other people. Alright, so I guess next thing, let's try and have a monster appear on the field. so maybe I should have player data class. Because it would at least have things like the team. I'm not going to do private anymore. And then it'll have... Okay, so I have this separate team actually. Oh. Well, you don't know that. You know Pokemon just don't know what the objective of this specific game is. Well, like I said, it's just you have like a team of, I'm calling them monsters right now. And you can place them on the board like a chess piece. And the main difference between chess and this game, I think, is that in chess, for example, you move one piece and then the other player moves a piece, while in this game everybody's going to choose their moves at once, and then basically all the turns happen at the same time. So you can try to like I don't know the right word, but try to trick your opponent into attacking you, and then but you'll actually move out of the way, if that makes sense. It's kind of hard to explain without showing, but so we've got the team object, but I don't know if we need it to be separate actually. I don't think I do need this separate object. Okay, good, that made sense to you. Okay, so, and then I'm gonna need to have a list of players. I guess we should just have a battle class. Well, thank you, Storm. I'm not sure. Yeah, I really like the way that Pokemon does battles because, like I said, it has all the mind games and stuff. And I don't know if anybody's ever made a tactical RPG with that kind of system. Maybe we can even just have the field class in here. Yeah, so maybe we don't need to have separate. Okay, so let's change some of that stuff I just messed up. Okay, so yeah, this one actually just be a field generator. It'll generate the whole battle for us. Let's rename some of the stuff. Okay, so still need this, but alright, so battle equals new, and then we'll set the field here. Alright, and then prefab. So all we need to do here is say dot field. Oh, except right now it's still expecting a field variable. Okay. Okay, so this is all good. Now I want to place one monster on the center tile. And then private, oh wait. Alright, so player team equals list. And then player team add a new monster. Okay. So let's go here and see what it's all about. Oops. So nickname, prototype, stats, abilities. Alright, so this is not in vector 2, because before I was thinking that it would be a square grid, I guess, but it'd actually just be an integer for the space index in the field. Okay, and now the middle space will be when x, I think it's going to be number 5. I guess we'll find out. Oh yeah, and all that is private, so let's make this easy to access. So this means it's standing on space number 5. Okay, so let's make a little monster prefab. Right, let's have a capsule. I'll put that tile there. Alright, so game object empty. This will be monster, and we'll put it as 0, 0. Okay, so let's move this up a little bit, and it's also way too big. Oh, that doesn't work. I was hoping it would scale everything. Okay, I'm not sure how to do that in Unity. Alright, we don't need a collider on this actually, I just realized. I think the tile probably has a collider too. Although, we might need one eventually. But anyway, let's not worry about that just yet. So scale it down by half. Yeah, I was trying to shift, but it does only one side. Which seems about the same as normal, so I'm not sure what the point of it is. Shift. Oh, actually, yeah, you click the middle square. But anyway. Okay, so yeah, let's put it right on top. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so this will be actually the testing monster. Okay, and I'm going to need to create another object like this, except it will spawn in all monsters. Okay, and I'm just gonna copy and paste this over. Okay, so we don't need the field. We actually just should get the battle object. Okay, so for each var player and battle dot players, and then for each var monster and player team. So we can kind of copy this. Basically how it's going to be is so it's battlefield spaces monster dot position center world position. I think that's all. Okay, so let's go ahead and create it in Unity. So test monster models.
This is my title. Like I told you.
And let's see.
Never lose battles.
There we go.
No mercy for the weak and especially for the ugly. My victory's complete, can't compete with completely lovely. That's why you got your gluteus kicked by the beauteous. Along with all the hideous that's lurking within my radius.
So says the battle is null.
The grand champion, gorgeous hunk of a man in possession of the spoils of my trip to the top. And top-notch hip-hop is how I hand me my
Is Unity free? Yep, it is. They have like a pro package you can get, which is like $70 a month, but I don't even use it, so it's not that required. So why did this not? Why is it null? Oh, I don't add the player to the list of players. Okay, so battle players add player. All engines have the paid stuff, yeah they do. Okay, so that's, so I guess this tile is number 5, so it should be. I guess I can't count today, but. Alright, so now it's on tile number 4. Alright. So what, I guess the next thing we can try to do is try to, I'm trying to think of something we can do that won't just have to be changed all later, but I guess right now we're just trying to get a playable prototype, so whatever. Because I was thinking that we could have the try to move the monster, but Unreal has some packages free, others are paid. Oh yeah, I've looked at it a bit, but Unity is kind of the same. There's like an asset store and engine you can go and buy all kinds of things. So obviously an easy way to select a tile to move to would just be to raycast, see what tile we go onto, but as I've said a few times, I think that the actual game will be one large model. So I kind of know how to do that. Basically, the mod would provide a texture, and then we see what UV we raycast onto the large model, and then we'd look that up on the provided texture to see which tile we've landed on. So I guess I don't really see much point in continuing with these separate objects now that I think about it, because if we do too much work with them, it's just going to be a waste of time because we'll have to delete it all. Okay, so I only have a few minutes left, so I kind of don't want to start on such a big project, but Unity and Unreal are the same, just different layout. Yeah, I don't think they're a whole lot different. Well, I mean, obviously they are, but you're right, and the basic concepts of them are about the same. Alright, so let's see. I guess we can. So the game. Hopefully, the game data would have a list of models like we did for the. In the chess game. I don't see why we shouldn't reuse that. Unless we wanted to be fancy and try and keep the models separate. Okay, so if we have a model registry, Lizard Tamer. So this is the object that would hold references to all the models. And then the game data would just point to specific ones. So we have public int. Let's not call it board, it's a field model. And then something else we'd have here. I guess, yeah, texture. Oh no, this should really be something separate. So this would be the space, raycast, UVs. Oops, I thought I still had the namespace name in here. Tactical Lizard Tamer. And this is basically just going to be a wrapper class for the texture 2D of the map. So basically what we do, let's see. So yeah, we'll return an actual space index. So get space for UV, or space at UV. So again, we get this UV from ray casting. If you don't know what a UV is, yeah, it's gonna complain. Let me load up the game again real quick. In a model, well, right now it's all white, but how a texture colors a model is defined by the UVs of the model, which basically tell, like, from this edge to this edge, use a certain area of the texture, and then from this edge to this edge use another area, and so on. And so what we do is we raycast from the mouse, and let's say it hits, I don't know, right where I'm pointing in the center. Then we can look up and see what coordinate this spot on the model is mapped to on the texture, and then we'll take that, and the model will have to provide this other texture, which would basically be a bunch of bright colors telling each different space, and that's how we'll find out what space the mouse was over. It'll make more sense as we start working on it. So you can get the color. Let me see exactly how do I do this. Okay, so we don't want to have the actual texture. Because, well, one thing, it's actually really slow to read a pixel from a texture because the texture is stored on your graphics card. So what we'll actually want to do is store a list or an array of colors on the texture, and we'll have gotten that already. So public void set texture, and this will be done during the loading phase of texture 2D. Is chess online? You can look down, if you mean the code, you can look down on my channel messages. I have a link there. Or I guess I can just copy the link in a chat. So pixels equals texture dot get pixel 32. Okay, that returns all the pixels. Or does it? Get pixel. Pixels. Okay, I guess that's what I want. And then we'll need to have some how will we map this UV? Oh no, the UV is just the actual pixel, so we don't really need to keep these colors. We can actually just... Alright, Storm. Actually just have this an integer. Color 32. So let's this will actually be the space at pixel. So we'd map this UV to the pixel index, and then from there we can return this integer, which is the actual space. Okay, Storm, that was quick. So here we will need like a dictionary for a specific color 32 to an integer so we can catch copies. Can you play in your browser? Oh no, sorry. You're gonna have to download it and open it in Unity. I didn't. Think about, I probably should make a version playable in the browser. Maybe I'll do that next couple days. I didn't even think of that. So this is the color map. Alright, well, kind of got started here. Let's use for int c equals 0, c less than pixels, length, c plus. I guess we can, the space at pixel will also be the same size as the pixels. And all really we have to do here is we got color equals pixels C, and then if so what I want to do is space index equals -1. Okay, well this is kind of the algorithm, but it'll actually be slightly different because we need to make sure these space indexes match up with whatever is in the actual field object. And then space index. So if color map does not equal then space index, we need to have a count. Plus count, space count plus plus, and then color map color equals space index. Do it please, because my course in school I have to do a lot of free time and don't have anything to do. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll try to do it in the next couple days. I might have time tomorrow, we'll see. But anyway, so then we set space at pixel C to the space index. So yeah, this is a basic algorithm, but we'll need to change it a little bit. But anyway, yeah, I've gone a bit over, but that's all for me for today. Yeah, thanks Storm for chatting and everybody else for, well, everybody for coming and watching. Tomorrow we'll continue with this raycasting and messing around with UVs, so I hope you'll come by and watch. I'll be live at 5 Eastern. So yeah, I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.